guys, happy new year to everyone. This is episode 10 of the 343 podcast, the first one of the year. I'm your host AF. So yeah, let's get 2022 up and running. Welcome back to Jason Ronnie, Nikita Koopman, and the man back from his 343 hiatus, Mubin Ahmed. Thanks for joining us again, everybody.
Hello. No problem. Good to be back.
Yeah.
Cool. So I think the transfer market is a good place to start today. I'll just get the ball rolling here with regards to Manchester United. Dennis Zakaria seems like the one with the most legs for this window. I'm glad that United are actually looking for a holding midfielder. I can't even remember the last time we actually had a good holding midfielder, somebody with some steel in the middle of the park.
Fred.
Esque. But yeah, he looks like a quality player, and if the rumors are true, or if the rumors are to be believed, United will only need to cough up about 6 million euros, which is a steal for a player like him. But just a quick note on that, Ed Woodward is still in charge until the end of this window. So what seems like 6 million now could actually build up to be around about 20 million by the end of the window, because Glazonomics. But yeah, I really hope that we follow through on this deal. Our midfield is very lacking at the moment, and yeah, just anybody with some sort of engine in the middle of that park will do United a world of good. But yeah, I'm just going to stay on the United fans for now. So Mubin, you can continue whatever transfer news you have for us.
Yeah, so I've been following the Lucas Digne one quite closely, actually. It's an interesting one. I think eyebrows were raised when he left Barca and signed for Everton. I think everyone was surprised at the time that Barca let talent like that go, and then he signed for Everton, who at the time were, a mid-table club, but also they had Ancelotti in at the time, and new owners, investment pumped in there, and but it looks like the wheels have just come rolling off again 2 seasons later, which is surprising because I think he's been the one with the highest assist for Everton, and I think last season he created the most chances for them, and I think after Trent and Robertson, he's been sort of the most successful wing back in the league over the past couple of seasons. So I think a fallout there with Benitez, obviously he's looking to move on, and again it's surprising because Everton, well, Villa's looking to sign him, but Everton's in that same boat where, like I said, there are new owners and cash injection there. So they're also looking to build a squad. They've got a top class manager in Benitez. So, it's these are sort of mid-level clubs now where the injections are happening, battling to get players like these. And I think he'll do a good job at Villa if he does go, which it seems like he will. And then obviously Gerrard looking to strengthen his squad, and he's got someone like Target there who's playing left back at the moment. So who's also been quite successful for Villa. So yeah, I think he'll move, and I think he'll do well under Gerrard, who's also looking to build the squad to get in, two players in a position.
Yeah, sounds good. And then let's stay on Aston Villa targets. Nikita, I heard that you might be covering a Aston Villa player.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Liverpool supporter and we don't make transfers, so I have to talk about other teams' transfers. So I might as well talk about an ex-Liverpool player, Felipe Coutinho, who's just signed for Aston Villa. Very lovingly known within the Liverpool fan base as the Snake. has a chronic sore back, so I hope he did, or they didn't test his back clearly didn't test his back too much during the medical, if he even had one. I think exceptional talent, of course. Fantastic signing, I think, in the context of Villa. They're really investing, that that Grealish money. Seemingly still there's still a pocket in the wages to cover some of it and get him on the books. I think it'll really give them hopefully a lot of impetus in that midfield. I really think they made the right strides. They were very conscientious in the signings they made in the summer. They got Gerrard in, I think, at the right time. And I mean, for me, they're definitely a top 10 club. And with Coutinho in there and all this, these like strange ad hoc battles that's happening on the table at the moment, kind of in that kind of 8th to 14th spot. Maybe this is the push that they need for the second half of the season to kind of crack on. But let's be honest, the guy's a shell of a player that he was, kind of 3-4 years ago when he was pulling on a Liverpool jersey. But I hope he can reinvigorate it. He's a fantastic talent, and it will be nice. It's always good to see talent in the league, even if they're not playing for your club. So hopefully he can crack on. And he's good mates, very close with Stevie G. Played with him for a couple of years, also at Liverpool. I'm sure learned a lot. Just didn't learn how to run box to box, or to make sure he gets to the chiropractor regularly enough. But yeah, all the best to that, mate. All the best to Villa. Want to see Stevie G do well, except when we're playing at Villa Park or they're playing at Anfield.
Nice one. Yeah, Jason, you want to round us off over here?
Yeah, no, definitely. Just to touch on Nikita's point, I think what Coutinho has gone through at Barca, obviously going from the heights of Liverpool and then, Barca, Bayern, Barca again. I think going to Villa where Stevie G just has a lot of confidence in him, I think it could only work well. And then even just to look at Mobin's transfer, I think strengthening down that left-hand side, if you have Lucas Digne and even Coutinho playing off that left, that then sharpens that left-hand side up for them, where that could then complement their right-hand side, where I think Matty Cash has been maybe one of the most underrated performers this season. So yeah, it is looking quite exciting. Obviously, there's a little bit of sourness. They took Emi Martinez, and he was doing well for them last season. He was doing well for us. So, but yeah, it definitely does make the whole English Premier League more exciting. On my side for transfers, obviously I'm going to have to go with the Arsenal one. So we've been heavily linked with Dusan Vlahovic. Actually pronounce it right. He is of Serbian descent, so I don't want to anger those people. Yeah, he's been doing really well for Fiorentina in a team that's not really doing very well. He seems to be the standout performer. We have somewhat good relations now that Lucas Torreira is there. They are keen, so it could be a little bit of money plus a Lucas Torreira. I think he's currently on like 26,000 euros, and we're trying to push him up to like 120, 160 somewhere, which is a massive increase. It is quite a bit, and I think with agent fees, I think lots of figures have been thrown around, and I think it could go upwards of like 150 with everything included, depending on the deal, with the agent's fee, with the wages and all that stuff. So I think it'll be interesting. If we do manage to get him, it would be good, because Florent Balogun's gone on loan. I think Edin Nketiah's like 1 foot out of the door. With that performance on Sunday, I think he's almost 1.5 feet out. Aubameyang, yeah, I think everybody's left in the lurch now with that. So honestly not certain. And then Laka is getting to that age now where you could actually look to make one big move before he retires. So renew him for one more season, get rid of him, and then let's just blood, because it seems like we've got this new thing of all the youngsters coming through, which is fine. Vlahovic is only 21. He fits right into the mold of what we have going on. So yeah, it's exciting. It's also scary, because not even a few months ago we were crying out, and now suddenly we have money. So yeah, we'll have to see. Hopefully it doesn't get to a Barca situation where we spend all our money and then suddenly we can't register this one and register that one. So yeah, it will be interesting, and hopefully we can wrap it up soon, and also potentially sign somebody in the mid, because all of our midfielders are gone, and while he's still there, Xhaka is basically gone as well. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. So that's my one. Dusan Vlahovic. Once again, I hope I said it right, because I've heard stories about the Serbs.
Yeah, he sounds like a proper quality player. Everything that I've seen from him on Twitter, everything that I've heard from him, heard from journalists about him, He seems like a really complete player, and yeah, Arsenal will be lucky to get him part of the team. But yeah, for the rest of this episode, we're going to be chatting about Manchester United and Arsenal. Yeah, so Mubin, why don't you get us started with Manchester United?
Yeah, where do I begin? Yeah, it's been, I don't know how to explain it actually, I'm at a loss for words here. It's been painful, to say the least. But in the same breath, look, we've got to give Ralph some time. New coach obviously coming in with these ideas. And players got to buy into it. Players got to get used to the system. We all know his style of play. We all know the likes of Klopp and Tuchel molded their style of play from his. But do we have the squad and the players to buy into that philosophy? Personally, I don't think so. There might be less than a handful of players that have to play that way. But in the same breath, we haven't really seen that pressing style in the games that I've watched so far. So there's a lot of, I think, you know, I still think some boardroom politics happening behind the scene. I think there's some with the players, with the likes of Pogba. There's reports of Ronaldo wanting to leave at the end of the season. So all our so-called big guns, you know, they're up in arms, so to say. I think Ronaldo, one report I read, he has held crisis talks about his future at United. Pogba certain his own future. Martial's nowhere to be found. I think he's taken his Christmas break early, hasn't returned. So, you know, where does it leave the squad? Who do we look up to? Who do we, who do we say, okay, you know, this is our strongest 11? The likes of Donny hasn't even gotten a look in since Rafa has been. I think he played one game. You know, his future's also at stake. So it's probably going to be a tough season, tough half of the season still to complete. I'm gonna go. I remember the episode we recorded before the season started, or I think there was probably a game or two in the season where I called United to end second. I'm going to revoke that statement, and I'm going to say we're going to be lucky we end in the top 4. Yeah.
Just to go back to your point about like with the whole Ronaldo having crisis talks and stuff. I mean, United is the club that all journalists will be looking at right now and thinking, here's the story. I don't think there's crisis talks. I think that Ronaldo is trying to be the elite player that he is, and he's trying to raise the standards at the club to the standards that he knows the club should be at. I just feel like he came in and he saw all these people coasting and just like stealing a living every day, not giving 100% in training. And he probably thought, okay, no, like things definitely need to change here. And I mean, there was the one article, Maguire didn't like Ronaldo coming in and doing this, and he didn't like Ronaldo like being so authoritative in the dressing room. I mean, if he feels that way, then he should show his authority on the pitch. He's the captain of the football club. Not that I like him as a captain. It's just like an example, like he's like all these players having problems with Ronaldo because he's the one that's actually forcing them to start working harder. With Ralph as well, like Ralph demands a certain level of fitness, a certain level of hard work, and there's players that don't want to buy into that. They would rather go somewhere else and have it easier. And yeah, it's not ideal at the moment, but I feel like Ralph is slowly starting to weed out the problems in the club. He said last night he brought Donny van der Beek on at like what, this 72-minute mark. And in his interview afterwards, he said, since Donny came on, we finally controlled the game. My thinking is, okay, if you knew that you controlled the game after he came on, why not just start him? I feel like he's giving all these players so much game time, and he's starting to weed out the ones that knows won't be able to buy into his philosophy. That's just my take on the whole thing. But yeah, it's definitely a long way to go for United to get back to where they need to be.
Yeah, but then in the same breath, where does it leave the squad? Because if he's weeding out all these players, which in my mind is the right thing to do, but we all know next season we're getting a full-time coach, and he obviously moves into his position as sporting director or something to that effect.
My thing is that
where does it leave?
Ralph is going to definitely get a coach that will be able to continue the work that he's starting, because it will be pointless to get him for 6 months, him going upstairs, and then, okay, let's get a coach that's going to implement something completely different. I think that was part of the idea of employing him as a sporting director after his 6 months stint is done. So I feel like he has a plan going forward. But one thing that I'm not too fond of is seeing Darren Fletcher next to him in every single camera shot. That doesn't fill me with confidence, because I feel like that's him and Mike Phelan are the last two of Ollie's reign that they need to go away, because I feel like the club won't be able to move forward as long as the two of them are still there.
Guys, I think I said this when that you guys asked it, Ollie. He's not the right guy, because you don't have the right squad to play a gegenpress. You don't. And second to that, something that I think we all overlooked, because we were hoping that United were going to improve from that point, the Oaks never managed a big club. He never has. So I'm not entirely sure that he can manage those personalities and those egos in the dressing room. And there's one Oak who seems to get it right at every club he goes to, almost with immediate effect, even though he later got a pre-season in the middle of the season in December, and that's Conte. Conte goes there. Flippin' Harry Kane has flippin' biscuits for ankles, and the guy is running his socks off every week now. And it just, it boggles the brain, that when you guys got pummeled by Liverpool, that Ollie didn't go during that international break and Conte didn't come in, because I reckon Spurs are in a much better position now to finish fourth. And that's not even considering West Ham in the equation, who look, the real deal. It's flabbergasting, because I think a couple of us
that are in fourth. Sorry.
Yeah, but there's a couple of games in hand there for Spurs, if I'm not mistaken. No, I just think it's a wrong fit. And I think this year, if I speak in a correction, this year is 10 years, right? 10 years with no league title.
Yep.
Yep. See how quickly 10 years goes. You see how quickly 10 years goes.
Yeah.
2013.
Yeah.
2013 was the last title.
2012, 13, yeah. So if you think about it, like, if you guys don't get this right, if this isn't the restructure of Manchester United, realistically, like we all thought Jose kind of was, and nothing stops it from being 20 years, realistically. If you look at those Oaks across the way from you guys in light blue and the things that they are doing, there's nothing. I really think it could be, in the next 10 years, no titles for Manchester United, certainly no titles for Liverpool. We just don't have the commitment to do it. And maybe 1 or 2 for Chelsea. I think those guys are going to run away with it. But yeah, you guys, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if you guys are on the right path. I was really hoping you were. I said to you guys, as much as I'm competitive as a Liverpool supporter, I want the big clubs to do well. I like a monopolized top 6, top 8, where the big guns are going for it, where the season isn't over by New Year. The top 4 isn't decided in February. That's what I want to see. And, adding you guys to the mix does that. And unfortunately, we're not going to see it this season, and probably not next either. in my opinion.
Yeah, no,
So the guys across the road in blue are out the number 9 at the moment. So it shows you what's happening at the other clubs. That
Yeah, they had so many COVID injuries this past weekend that they had to play a striker. How awful for Pep. It was terrible. He was probably crying that he had to play a number 9.
but it's
His hair was probably growing back there, thinking about, normally it's slick, and now he's like, now I need to place, and then suddenly the hair sprouts. It's crazy. Sorry.
It's funny you brought that up, because I always see guys that, they lose the hair from the top, but you seem to always lose it from the side.
That's actually by choice. This isn't because Arteta stresses me out sometimes. But yeah, let me just I agree with Nikita. It's tough to look at it and say it looks nice, because now maybe Ralph is a bit more eloquent when he explains after the game what they're supposed to do and how they're supposed to play. Where Ole was maybe just everybody gave vibes and it was going good, but a 6-month period, you can't do much with that. And then for him still to move up, it has to be somebody from Germany who has been closely working with his work, who would be able to continue that, who would be able to understand. But also, yeah, it's such a big difference, to jump from Leipzig when they were nothing really. Even I think he was involved with Hoffenheim at the stage as well, which teams that compete in Germany and stuff, but never really run to go to what was once maybe one of the biggest clubs in the world. I'm not sure if you still regard the club as that anymore in recent times, but it's still there's different demands. It's crazy. It's the same reason that Moyes does well at Everton, comes to United, struggles, and then does well at West Ham. It's completely different expectations. Great manager, but when you come into the kitchen, it is hot. And if you can't cook, then you will struggle. And yeah, I don't know, like you were saying that that Ronaldo wants to train hard, but it's weird because he implements the stuff in the training, but when he plays, he's actually a ghost. He literally just hangs up front and then he finishes. So that's all he's really doing.
His off the ball movement is quite hectic though. He covers a lot of ground. I think for the past couple of games, he's covered the most ground out of all the United players. I think it's for the past 3 games he covered the most ground, all United players. So I mean, the fact that he's
because the bar is very low though.
that's also true. That's also true.
Yeah. But I think you're right. You're spot on, Jason. He's probably the hardest working guy on that team.
Yeah,
but
and
he's probably the least likely guy to press.
Yeah.
So.
I guess it goes down to his fitness as well. He's probably the fittest guy there. So he has the tank to last 90 minutes or whatever, best for 90 minutes.
Yeah. I think. Sorry, just last thing. I think we get confused with outward showing of what real intensity is, but if there's a fluidity in it, then everybody does equal amounts of work. And there's this great gap between maybe your hardest working fullback, say it's Diego Dalot, and your hardest working forward, which for me I think it's more Cavani than it is Ronaldo. In that Cavani is just he's just a willing runner. So if everybody's moving in sync, then suddenly everybody can go for that extended period because it's equal amounts distributed well. But yeah, it's definitely going to need a clearance sale vibe at the end of the season where you actually get those oaks that can come in and say, because there's so many personalities, like Nikita says, and it's ridiculous actually. Like people want these managers to come in, but there's so many internal dynamics. Plus you have an assistant coach in Ronaldo who's always going to be involved there. So he's always going to be tough, man.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, you spot on when you say about the clearance sale. There's Juan Mata. He's definitely going to be going. Dean Henderson's pushing for a move out. Martial just gave up on Manchester United. He's not interested at all. And people like Wan-Bissaka, he was bought for 50 million. There is no future for him at Manchester United if we want to become a cohesive pressing unit. He doesn't know how to press. He relies on late tackles to make himself look good. Yeah, it's like they say that Ole left the squad in a better position than what he found it, but he bought some oaks with huge question marks over their head. And yeah, like I don't even want to get into Harry Maguire because we won't have the time for that. Because right now we need to shift over to Arsenal. So Jason, the floor is yours.
Yeah, man, I think there's equal parts of excitement with equal parts of frustration. I think Arteta now, having been given the time, been given a bit of a kitty at the start of the season to actually sign guys who he feels would be good for the system that he wants to play. It seems to be bearing fruit. I think maybe barring this game against Nottingham Forest, I think even the Man City game, there were more often than not more good glimpses than actual bad glimpses. So it really looks exciting. It's just whether we can maintain it over a consistent period. I think Liverpool also struggled with that at a period where their first 11 was ridiculously good. And then you'd throw in like maybe Shaqiri, you'd throw in Alberto Moreno. This is, look, I could be getting the names wrong, but just once you swap the team out, then suddenly that level drops. Okay, Man City have it differently. They replace like for like and stuff like that. So I think if Arsenal can kind of mold their squad to be more well-rounded, I think maybe then it will start showing. Maybe this new acquisition with like Vlahovic coming in, maybe it could work. Just because he seems like somebody almost in the mold of like Haaland, who's not really worried about anything else. It's just give me the ball and then just let me play. Which is, I think, maybe what we need. I think Arsenal's, we've carried around that tag of being like soft, pretty football and that stuff. Maybe we just need somebody who's going to be in the box and just finish. Maybe that's something that's been lacking from our game for like quite some time. I think we've got a good crop of players coming through, and that's great. If we can maybe continue in that vein, and actually just produce the results that come with those good performances, because Man City's game was great. But then we left there with absolutely nothing because maybe some dubious refereeing decisions, but also just lack of mental from like Gabriel. Just got a yellow card, commits a foul on the halfway line. Then it's like finishing chances at the other end. It's just like those little things that will come with time. And I'm like, I was just making a joke that we in fourth now, and yes, there's still games in. I'd much rather have the points than have games in hand. I think United know that best. I mean, that Newcastle game was meant to be that first win before you guys get a few and then go up. But even like with this league being so unpredictable, West Ham having games in on us, Spurs having games in on us, I'm actually feeling like quietly confident, to be honest. So yeah, that's Arsenal at this current moment. If we can strengthen, then we'll be good and we can maybe maintain that level. If not, it's going to be very hard towards the end of the season. And yeah, especially with all these postponements, man, it mixes up that whole rhythm and flow that we have going. So yeah.
I think you bang on. And as you were speaking there, I was wondering, Liverpool on their day, and I'm obviously very biased, but on their day, I honestly think our starting 11 is probably the best team in the league. Honestly, I think we can beat anybody on their day, any single team. But I wonder, with the prevalence, and I'm sorry to towards City again, I wonder if more clubs like yourselves who are, in kind of year 2 or 3 of a rebuild, and like clubs like West Ham who have serious opportunities to get in the top 4 more consistently, or at least make European football more consistently. Same with Spurs, or really look at the Liverpool type model and say, we can really invest in a really good 11 or a really good 15.
Yeah.
And we can probably get top 4 with that 15, or at least compete very hard to get in the top 4 and maybe win a cup. Is that maybe not probably a more prudent model to build sustainable clubs going forward? Because if you look at City, they're not catchable. The only club that can potentially catch them is Manchester United. If we talk about, they do what we spoke about today. and Chelsea because they have the money to invest it, and Newcastle in 2 years' time after they get relegated and come up. You know, so I mean, is that not a better structure to have? Is to have a good crop of really talented players that gel and just, you know, they almost speak like via osmosis, and they make it work. And you know, I wouldn't begrudge clubs that, and I wouldn't begrudge Arsenal that, because as much as we've all ragged Arteta, we've all ragged Arsenal over the last couple of years, but you can see that man has a plan.
Yeah.
You can see there's actual, I mean, there is tactics on the field, there's fluidity at times that's really great. Yes, there are stupid things, and I think that was more poor refereeing than Gabriel being hot-headed. But you know, there's luck that's involved in it. But I honestly think like Arsenal is a club to watch, honestly. And playing that same kind of football that I remember most, you know, under Wenger, which was, you know, that team goal that you guys won, Jack Wilshere, there was about like 7-1 touches,
one of the
Giroud with
best
the
goals.
assist in the box. Like probably my favorite Premier League goal of all time.
Amazing.
I mean, that's what I'm seeing now. I mean, I'm seeing the Smith Rowe kid come off the bench every week with his short socks and take one touch and score and tapping goals and watching fluid football. And for me, that's exciting.
Yeah.
There's very few other clubs whose full games I sit and watch on a weekend, but Arsenal is one of them. And I think that's really exciting. It's nice to see that there's actually a rebuild that's actually seeming to be working. And I'm excited to see, you know, the kind of West Ham, Spurs, might even be Liverpool after the January we're probably going to have, you know, kind of that competition for the top four. I think that's actually where the excitement is going to be for this league, kind of going into the rest of the year.
Yeah, Nikita, you were spot on with that fluidity of Arsenal's play. It's just like I watched the last few games and they just look like this cohesive unit. Like it's amazing, like proper carpet football, like the way they used to play. Like it takes me back to Ivory vibes when like you just see like all these like team goals being worked, like hardly ever long balls being played. It was, and it feels like it's coming back to that. But there are some problem players that I feel like it's like they're going to need to be like shifted on. Like you mentioned, Aubameyang, he definitely has to be shifted. And Granit Xhaka, as long as he's there, Arsenal won't be a serious club. There's always a mistake waiting in him. You guys will take the game by its horns, and he will find a way to mess it up at the end. He's done it a couple of times already this season, and I'm sorry, but that's just unforgivable. And yeah, like so once these oaks get moved on, I think Arteta already knows, or he has a succession plan for those players. But yeah, I think the future looks great for Arsenal, as long as whatever is happening continues, and as long as they trust in Arteta's process. I think you guys will definitely be back into some sort of trophy running consistently every season. Yeah, Mubin, anything you have to add before we wrap it up?
Yeah, no, I agree. But I also feel that you know, Arsenal's philosophy, you know, throughout my time watching football is basically the same like United's, and that's, you know, breed from the academy. So I feel that when they do strengthen, I still think that they should strengthen with experience. You know, 1 or 2 purchases here like Vlahovic is fine, but I think if you're going to let go of the likes of Aubameyang, like I said, like you say, you'll be willing to keep him for another season, and he must get on his bike and go. What you do sign is, I think you need to sign in, you know, experienced players, so that the guys coming through like your Emile Smith Rowe's or Nketiah's, you know, they learn off these guys, and obviously you play, you know, better football, and you know, they become better players around the experienced players. But I agree, they've been playing good football, and I like what AF said. It's like the old Ivory days, you know, carpet football, small stadium, And yeah, I've watched a couple of the games, and there's definitely Arteta's definitely onto something there.
Yeah.
I think actually just the last comment from me. I think the trick is just don't appoint a captain. Like just go captainless, Arsenal, please. Spare us the drama of your captains. They all like as soon as they get that armband, they go completely crazy.
Yeah, or just give it to Aaron Ramsdale. Okay, take. I'm going to end it there. That's a wrap on episode 10 of the 343 podcast. Yeah, don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Sportycast, and like and share this video. Hit the subscribe button below. And this year we're going to start doing some Twitter spaces for high-profile games. So keep an eye out on our Twitter profile for all the details about that going forward. And then, yeah, as usual, subscribe to our podcast on Spotify. Share the podcast with your mates. Share them with your mates' mates. The further we get our program, the more appreciated we are. And yeah, thanks, Jason, Nikita, and Mubin. Getting the year started with the 343 podcast with you guys has been a pleasure. I'm AF4343, and I am out of here.